So hello, welcome to the video and welcome to Dublin. Now a couple of months ago I made a video to celebrate reaching 5,000 subscribers and I invited you all to send in some questions. And one of the questions I was sent asked me what triggered my love of travel. Well, many things did, but the one thing I talked about in that video was Michael Palin. In 1989, he released a TV series called Around the World in 80 Days, recreating the journey of Phileas Fogg that was created by Jules Verne in the 19th century. It was a very, very special series. It was just about the first one ever made by a celebrity who wasn't previously known for being a traveller, and it really set a precedent. It looks very dated these days, but I enjoyed every single second of it. Now, fast forward probably 30 years, and one of the YouTubers that I used to watch regularly, and indeed still do watch regularly, is Noel. And a video of his that I particularly like, in fact I think it's my favourite of his out of all of them that he's made, involved him going around the world in 80 hours. I really recommend you find the time to give it a watch, as I think it's one of his very best videos. Now I have a YouTube channel and I was looking for ideas of some way that I could sort of honour both of those two concepts but do it in my own way. I don't really have the time or the budget to contemplate an 80-day trip at the moment, and I think an 80-hour trip is just a bit too quick because I do like to actually linger in the places I travel through. So I came up with the concept of going around the world in 8 days, splitting the difference between the two. So in this video, I'll show you how I'm going to go around the world in 8 days. It's going to be about 21,000 miles. I've got 6 flights on 4 airlines spanning 4 countries. I'm starting in Dublin and ending in London, which is a bit of a cheat. I have actually just flown in from London to position, but if I'd include that flight, it would have made this 9 days, which kind of spoils the whole concept. So if you'd like to see what it's like to travel all the way around the world in just 8 days, stick around.
Hi, I'm Matt. I've lived in 5 countries on 4 continents. I've flown over 1.4 million miles. I've visited over 100 countries, every American state, but I'm nowhere near done. So subscribe to see where I go next and perhaps get some inspiration for your next trip.
The first leg was on Qatar Airways in business class with a connection in Doha. Qatar is widely lauded as having the best business class product on the market. That may very well be the case, but they actually offer 3 business class experiences, with their Q-Suite product being the one that receives the praise. On this trip I experienced their second best product down to Doha. It's still a pretty good product even if it isn't a patch on a Q-Suite. Then, after the usual pilgrimage to stare at Doha Airport's scary teddy bear, the second flight down to Phuket was in Qatar's third string product, the one they keep hidden, you might say. Indeed, I did say it in the thumbnail to the video I made. It's still way better than travelling in economy class, but it wasn't the most fun I had on this trip. So Phuket. I had 2 nights there, which meant virtually 2 full days as I landed at around 6 AM. Given the brevity of my visit, I decided to stay in the touristic heart of the island in Patong, and I struck gold by choosing to stay at the Impiana Beach Hotel. A wonderful location, great staff, and they gave me my room straight away, despite me arriving 6 or 7 hours before the advertised check-in time. I didn't film any of it, but the included breakfast was also excellent. My room was very spacious and comfortable, with the exception of that sofa, which I can only conclude was made of concrete. 1 or 2 minor maintenance issues, but for around £100 a night I was really happy. It was a very short walk from the pleasant patio area outside the room to the equally pleasant pool. But the hotel's biggest selling point is that it is right on the beach. It could not be closer. And what a beach it is too. First of all, it's absolutely huge, stretching on for miles. The sand is spectacular and it stretches out into the water beyond where you'd want to walk, which is handy for those like me with Northern European feet who don't like walking across rocks. The water is beautifully warm, it's calm, and it's all pretty close to perfect. Beach vendors will keep you massaged, trinketed and refreshed, and there's all sorts of water sports close at hand. And if that's not enough, the beach faces west-ish, so you get an amazing sunset at no extra charge. I've been lucky to have visited a few beaches in my time, and I'm struggling to think of anywhere that offers a better all-round beach experience anywhere else in the world.
Some have bluer water, some have whiter sands, and many are far less touristed, so offer a more intimate experience. But as a total package, Phuket is hard to beat. Patong offers a fantastic beach experience during the day, but it also has quite a lot to offer at night. Bangla Road offers a night market plus plenty of bars and nightclubs, even if you won't find any Michelin-starred restaurants there. There is a backpacker vibe to the place, especially as cannabis has been decriminalised in Thailand and dispensaries abound. And there's an underbelly to the nightlife too, which is not hard to find if you're looking for it. Phuket was great, and 2 days was nowhere near enough, but I only had 8 days to get all the way around the globe, so it was time to move on. If you plan a trip to Phuket, the airport doesn't look like it's far away, but it can take forever in the rush hour and even longer if it rains, so be warned. Next stop was Bangkok, and I tried to fly there on Thai Airlines, but ended up flying Thai Smile. Still a great experience, just not quite the one I thought I was booking. So Bangkok, one of my favourite cities and a place I've been lucky to spend several months in over the years. I went a bit crazy and allowed myself 3 nights here, as it had been several years since I'd last visited. For me, Bangkok is the perfect city, as it balances local colour and craziness with Western conveniences. If you get a bit sweaty looking at the crazy range of animals on sale in the massive central market, there'll be an air-conditioned mall or Irish pub close at hand to cool down in. Although saying that, February was a very unsweaty time to have visited. I didn't visit any of the headline tourist destinations on this occasion, except for the Erawan Shrine, which was very close to where I stayed. There's always been plenty to entertain you in Bangkok, and with the legalisation of cannabis, these days there's even more. I stayed at the Hotel 11 just off the Sukhumvit Road, and I really can't recommend it. The property is ambitious and things look pretty good, but I had to move rooms twice during my 3 nights there, once because my room was directly overhead a bar with thumping music until 2 AM. Alongside a few service issues, they didn't really seem to be in control of their offering. I did enjoy the decent pool area on the roof, and I said things look good. Those flowers are actually plastic. But as I paid only £45 a night, I probably shouldn't be complaining. So that's the longest pit stop I'm going to get on this journey. 3 nights in Bangkok, and it's been great fun, but it's time to keep moving east. Short flight today, only 2.5 hours down to Singapore on Singapore Airlines in business class. Let's see what that's like. The Singapore Airlines flight was a delight and really showed what shortish international flights in premium cabins can be like. European airlines obviously could take note and copy Singapore Airways, but have clearly decided not to. So Singapore, another of my favourite cities, although in comparison to Bangkok, one vastly more slanted towards Western convenience than Eastern exoticism. I lived there for close to a year, 15 or more years ago, and it's definitely a city of reinvention. Many of the places I used to enjoy are no longer there, including an entire shopping mall which has been completely demolished. Liang Court has been levelled, if you know Singapore. I used to live beside Clarke Quay, and I remember it from before the roof was added. It seems to be undergoing another reinvention, with large parts of it closed off when I visited. I only had about 16 hours on the ground between flights. I was picking up the round-the-world pace a little at this point, but I still managed an early morning stroll around the heart of the city. Singapore isn't everyone's cup of tea. It feels very manufactured, probably because it is, and it is very, very expensive these days. I paid over £12 for a pint of beer. I really enjoyed living there and actually had to move away before I felt I was ready to move on, but I'm not sure I'd want to go back now. Circumstances have changed, so the opportunity probably won't arise, but I think it'll be a place I look forward to visiting in the future rather than somewhere I'd want to live, particularly at those prices. I stayed at the Merchant Court Hotel beside Clarke Quay. This was a Swiss hotel for about as long as I can remember, but it's now branded Paradox. Still the same property, in the same excellent location, and at £160 for a night. Still an expensive option, although every hotel feels expensive compared to other Asian cities. And did I mention Singapore was an expensive place to visit? So I've had my night in Singapore and very entertaining it was too, but it's time to keep moving, and today is the big one, the 18-hour world's longest flight from here to New York, the flight that all of this trip has been built around. A little apprehensive, I'm not going to lie to you, but I think it should be a memorable experience. So, time to head to the airport again. Singapore's Changi Airport really is a delight. The airport has received some variant of a World's Best Airport award 662 times, which tells you all you need to know. I was travelling a lot when I lived in Singapore, and transiting the airport was never anything less than a delight. So the world's longest flight. And as I say in this video, it really can be the world's longest flight. We crossed the date line and it makes things really quite complicated. It took me 8 days to get around the world, but, and I may be giving away the plot twist in Jules Verne's great novel here, crossing the date line meant I actually experienced 9 shortened days rather than 8 regular days. It's weird that each of my days was about 21 hours long, but if I'd have gone the other way around the world, I'd have had days that were 27 hours long on average. You really need to keep your wits about you when travelling around the world. After about 18 hours in the air, we arrived in New York, another of the world's great cities and another city I completely love, but not so much in February. The weather was actually decent and was well above zero, but as, once again, I only had about 16 hours on the ground, I decided against heading into Manhattan for the night. I'd chosen to spend time in the tropical parts of Asia rather than this potentially frigid part of North America. I'd contemplated another night in the TWA hotel, but had decided to save the money, so opted instead for the Quality Inn beside the airport. I didn't video anything, as it was all a bit grim to be honest. Friendly, but grim, and even one of the cheapest options still cost me £120 for the night. So it's day 8, another early start, and it's time for my last eastbound flight. Could have done with another day in New York, to be honest with you, because getting on another flight today isn't the most exciting and enticing prospect I've ever faced, but it is going to be a good one, I think, with Virgin Atlantic in premium, which is their version of premium economy, back across the Atlantic to London. So let's go! Another day, so another airport, and JFK isn't quite up there with Changi, but access to the Virgin Clubhouse did smooth the experience. And the final flight was pretty good, a little annoying that the passenger in front felt the need to spend the entire flight in full recline, but I arrived refreshed and ready to face the annoyingly long journey home. I had 40 minutes to wait for a train at St Pancras, so I decided to pretend I was actually ending this trip in Dublin with a Guinness. Michael Palin ended his Round the World series with a lament that no one around him knew the scale of what he'd just achieved. My achievement was nowhere near as epic, but as I sat alone in that pub with no one around me having the first clue that I'd just circumnavigated the globe in little more than a week, I could understand how he felt. Cheers. So thanks for watching a slightly different type of video here, very interested to see how well it performs. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it and leave me a comment. Is this the sort of video that you find interesting? Please consider subscribing if you're new, and if you'd like to support me more directly, there's a Patreon account, the link to which is in the description below. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.